Hello YouTube. It's been a while since I did a video on X-Plane, and the reason being I've been waiting to see what X-Plane 11's like, and I was going to do a video on X-Plane 11, but to be quite honest, with the system that I've got at the moment, my frames are not very good on X-Plane 11, and I don't think they're good enough to for me to use it on a regular basis, or do any videos on the sim. It's still in beta, so we've got to wait and see what happens when they eventually release it. Whether the frames will be better, performance will be better, I don't know. We've got to wait and see. So in the meantime, I thought we'd come back to X-Plane 10 and we'll have a look at this little beauty that I purchased a few weeks ago. So this is the Pmdg Dc6 Cloudmaster. I must admit I held back from purchasing this aircraft. I didn't think I didn't think I'd probably use it a lot, and it was fairly expensive, close on to $70. But I've watched a few videos on the aircraft, and I thought, well, it looks really good, and although it's a very complicated aircraft, Pmdg have made it easy to fly, let's put it that way. And I must admit, it's an absolute superb aircraft. They've done a really good job, Pmdg. And you know, although it's expensive, I tell you, it is worth every penny. I would advise anybody to go and get this aircraft if they can afford it. Go and get it, because it's an absolute beaut. It's an old plane, I know. It's not very fast, it's slow. It's piston engine, as you can see, and it's extremely complicated, I've got to tell you. You can fly this aircraft on your own, if you're brave enough to do that, or you can use a nice little feature that Pmdg incorporated into the aircraft, and that's the artificial flight engineer, which we'll have a look at in a few minutes. But I think you'll agree, looking at the outside of the aircraft, it's phenomenal. Some people have said the textures aren't, you know, brilliant, but I think it's really nice. I have no problems at all with the looks of this aircraft. You see at the bottom left we've got a menu there. The first one is you can set it to cold and dark, ready to start, ready for taxi. You can also alter the lighting in the cockpit from this menu. There's a lot of lighting switches inside the cockpit, which we'll have a look at in a bit, but this is just an easy way to set the lighting, and you can open the doors and move the stairs from this menu, and also the tow bar, wheel chocks, etc. on the left hand side. I've got it switched to cold and dark at the moment. Let's have a quick look at the next menu, which is the load and fuel menu, which is pretty straightforward. You can do everything, passengers and cargo and all the fuel. It's got a lot of fuel tanks, as you can see. It's a very complicated fuel system on the aircraft. But as I say, if you use the artificial flight engineer, it'll sort all that out for you. Next menu is the AFE, Artificial Flight Engineers menu, and this is what we'll be using in a short while to get the aircraft up and running. Okay, if we go down to the next menu, we have a menu here that is the maintenance menu, and it looks at the health of the engines propeller hours, you can top up the engine oils and other liquids and coolants from this menu. And if we just go down to the menu below, this is the realism menu. As you can see, that's self-explanatory. You can have enable damage to the engines if you don't treat them correctly, and all of the carbureting and all the rest of it. I haven't got any of those on at the moment. I'm still a newbie with the aircraft, so I'm leaving all those off for the time being. And if we go down to the bottom menu, this is quite a nice one, because you can be halfway through a flight and you can save it, and when you come back another time you can load that flight back up again and carry on the flight. It's really nice feature. Okay, so let's have a look inside the cockpit now and see what the aircraft looks like from there. So here we are inside the DC6. This is the B version, passenger version, and if we look around this cockpit, you'll see there's a lot of stuff. It's a bit daunting to say the least. Loads and loads of gauges, switches, and it's phenomenal. But as I say, it's Pmdg have made it a lot easier for you to use. To get you up and running, it's quite easy to get this aircraft off the ground and do a flight. So what we're going to do is we're going to see how we start the aircraft up, and we'll go from cold and dark to pushback, but we'll be using the AFE, artificial flight engineer, to help us through. Okay, so let's go to the flight engineers menu on the left hand side, and we want the top of the list there, which is before start. So we'll click that button and we'll have a listen to what the flight engineer does.
Cockpit pre-flight. Completed. Voice recorder. Tasted. Flight kit and ship's papers. On board. Fuel and fluids. Checked. Pressurization. Set. Manifold and duct pressure. Checked. Radios. Checked. Doors and hatches. Closed. Door warning lights. Out. Gear pins. Removed. 3 on board. Seat belts and pedals. Adjusted. Throttles. Set to idle. Propellers. Forward and 3. Before start checks complete. Start engines.
Okay, so the flight engineers set the plane up for us just ready to start the engines, and it's quite easy to start the engines in the aircraft. What I have found is the throttles there, I always move them forward just a little bit like that. Otherwise, for some strange reason, I don't know why, the engines will start and then they'll cut out again. I've not read the manual properly yet. There's 300 and odd pages in the manual, but I've just found that out just by trial and error. So we've moved the throttles forward just a slight little bit, and if we look down at the mixture controls here, the flight engineer has set the number 3 mixture control up to fully reach. So we can go up to the top overhead panel here and start engine 3. Now you'll also notice he's put the ignition for engine 3 to both and the selector switch to number 3. So all we need to do is hit this start button here, pull it down, and you'll see the number 3 engine spool up and start. Now the starter just clicked off. That was the little clicking noise you heard there. As soon as that starter clicks off, we can go down and start engine 4, put the mixture to rich for engine 4, if I can get that in the right position. There we go. Up to the top, ignition to engine 4 to both, switch to number 4 and click the starter, and we shall see engine number 4 spooling up. And it's clicked, starter's clicked off, so we can now go down to number 2, mixture to rich, ignition to both for 2, starter to number 2, and hit the starter button, and you can see now that number 2 is spooling up nicely. And we'll wait for the click. There we go, and we can go to engine number 1, mixture to rich, ignition to both, selector switch to 1 and hit the starter, and as you can see, number 1's up and running now. And if we just nip to the outside, there we are. You can see all the engines are running nicely. Okay, back into the cockpit. So that's how easy it is to start the engines up on this wonderful aircraft. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll run the after start checklist using again the flight engineer. Okay, after start.
Start selected boost pumps. Off and off. Battery switch. Plane battery. Generators and inverters. Checked and on. Emergency lights. Armed. Ground power. Removed. After start checks complete.
There we go. After start check complete. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to push the aircraft back, and to do that we're going to use the reverse thrust on the engines. Not reverse thrust is not the correct term, I don't think, for a prop, but you know what I mean anyway. And we'll show you how to. It's a nice little thing that you can do in a lot of aircraft, is push back using the reversers. So we'll have a look at that now. Okay, we'll just get rid of this menu for a second or two, and we'll put the engines into reverse, and you'll see these orange lights light up. There we go, and we'll just use the thrust levers. Oh, I nearly forgot, we need to take these things away. There we go. Release the parking brake, of course, and we can use the rudder pedals to turn us left or right, which is great. We're at Birmingham Airport in the UK, incidentally. This is a freeware scenery for Birmingham, which is available at the org. So we're pushing back onto the taxiway, and I'm using the rudder pedals just to steer the aircraft in the right direction. Nice little feature. Just get that lined up with the taxiway. That should do us, and we just need to drop the throttle back and put the aircraft out of reverse and put the brakes on. Okay, so there we are. We've pushed back from the gate, and we're now ready to taxi. Okay guys, so we'll start the taxi now. Get up to runway 33, and whilst we're just doing that, we'll run the before takeoff checklist using the AFE.
Boost pumps. Boost pumps on low. Fuel selector and crossfeed. Main tanks and crossfeed off. Autopilot and carb heat. Off and cold. Hydraulic system. Down, forward, pressure and quantity checked. Okay. Flaps 20.
Flaps down there.
Flaps set 20. Windows and turbine. Closed and on. Controls. Gas block released. Free. Pitot heater. On. Mixture and cowl flaps. Reach unlocked. Set. Transponder. On. Landing lights. Extended and on. Before takeoff checks complete.
Okay, so the AFE's done the before takeoff checks. As you can see, we're on a bit of a hill here at Birmingham. Just gone over the top as we come round to runway 33, and we'll do the takeoff, and just show you the autopilot on the aircraft, and that'll be nice. Okay, so we'll enter runway 33. Line up. That'll do us there. Pop the brakes on, and we'll do. It's dry at Birmingham, so we'll do a takeoff dry, and we'll let the AFE set the power for takeoff.
30 inches stabilize. 30 inches stabilize. Stabilized. Cowl flaps. Cowl flaps. Cowl flaps set. Full power, please. Going full power.
It's going to full power now, and we have to wait for the flight engineer to tell us that full power is set, and we can release the brakes and do the takeoff roll. he'll tell us in a minute that it's full power set.
Full power set.
There we go. Just wanted to save a little bit of time there. Roll down the runway, and we'll lift off at about just over 100 knots. There we go.
Positive rate, gear up. Gear selected up.
There we go. Gear up. Pitch down a little bit. We've got this aircraft doesn't climb very fast. We'll set the climb rate about 500 feet per minute, something like that. Going down to 5 now. What we can do at this point is we can go down to the autopilot. This switch here, which is the gyro pilot, we switch that first. Go down to this lever here, put the autopilot on, and that will keep us in a heading mode, and we can turn using this turn coordinator knob there. We'll just leave it as it is at the moment. We're going to drop the pitch down because we're pitching too high. Pitch wheels there. Drop that down so we're around about 5 to 800 feet per minute. Will give us a nice climb rate.
Flaps going up.
Flaps are going up now. We've reached the flap speed, and we'll continue climbing now. And we can adjust the pitch as necessary. Try and keep the speed at about 150 knots, something like that. And as I say, you can use this knob here to
Flaps are up.
turn right or left.
Meter power. Setting meter power 48 inches, 2600 RPM.
Press the button in the middle, level off. And this knob here, if we switch it to the middle, it'll using the Garmin, you can if you switch the Garmin to GPS, it will follow the GPS route, or if it's on V-localizer, it'll follow your localizer or VOR, whichever you've got the aircraft set to. So there we go, guys. That's a quick look at the Pmdg Dc6 and how easy it is to get this aircraft up off the ground and running. I really recommend anybody get this aircraft. It's absolutely superb, and Pmdg have done a really great job. So thanks for watching, guys, and hopefully it won't be too long before we get another video up and running. See you again. Bye.